I started my day with a walk. Actually, today it's pretty sunny here. Last
Mhm.
week it wasn't that great, but this week I think it's getting better and better. So yeah, really looking forward to the summer.
Exactly. Well, maybe not summer in Barcelona, but spring I'm really happy to to hug
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
The summer is a bit, crowdy with tourists and also really warm. So I usually try to go to my country because it's more pleasant in Poland. So yeah.
Yeah, talking about your country, where do you live? Maybe we can get started. First of all, thank you so much, Gabriela, for doing today's podcast. I'm really looking forward to talk about interesting topics because we had a discussion before this. I understand that you come from a psychology background. That was your study as well. And I'm
Yeah.
very curious to know the intersection between ESG, your master's in psychology, and AI. I know that you've been also doing some
Yeah.
interesting stuff out there. So maybe we can get started with the introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you
Sure.
like to introduce yourself,
With
who you are, where do you come
pleasure.
from, what are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vina, for having me here. So it's a great pleasure, and also welcome everyone listening today, our live, and also hi to my mom, who is also there here with us, and my great source of support. So my name is Gabriela. I'm sustainability in ESG consultant and also advisor, and I'm trying to make sense of my life in this planet. As you mentioned, I studied psychology, but not only. I have a master's from psychology, but also sustainability. But I can tell the story how actually my journey with sustainability in the ESG world started, if we have time and also interest. Yeah, I live in Barcelona, and yeah, I work on an intersection of business and mental health, and I think it is something very important to take into account in this very demanding world and this field to not only have sustainable career but also sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. No, very interesting. And you mentioned that where did you born again? Like in Poland?
Yes, yes. Originally, I'm from Poland, from the northwest, from Golenio, which is a small town, 1 hour away from the seaside. And moved to Barcelona around 1 year and a half ago for a job that I got at that time in sustainability as global sustainability and ESG manager. Yeah, and it was a great journey. And currently, I still live in Barcelona and having my own now company that works on the intersection of business, ESG, also AI governance, as well as social impact and also research.
Okay. No, very interesting. And maybe we can add a few more details, like how you really got into ESG, after your studies, maybe a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, it would be like I will try to make a long story short.
Yeah, long story short.
Yeah, it started during my studies, first studies of psychology. I had the opportunity to join a project, social project, actually created one based on in my volunteering with the seniors who were learning English. And I really wanted them to have something entertaining and very practical instead of sitting in with books during classes. So I invited them to exchange cooking skills with Erasmus students so that the Erasmus students can also learn, the Polishness. What's the, better than learning, your culture from grandmas, the ones that are very close to tradition. And this is because I joined also student initiative, which is called Enactus, that helps students to create social projects. I got very much interested in social impact, how to measure it, but also in sustainability. I got a lot of classes, I mean, like trainings, as well as had opportunity to also join a contest, national competition for social projects. We won also second prize during this with my university. So this is how it started. It gave me great source of, like meaning, purpose, like it made my heart full. And then after this, I felt like, oh, this is the way for me. But how can I better myself in this. So after graduating, I got the opportunity to start studying sustainable development, which actually it was the first master's program in sustainability in my country by University of. And because I was also in my mid-20s, I because the studies were also full-time, I had to somehow connect. I not want to resign from any of this because both parts of my life or development were super important. But it turned out that during studies that there were a lot of other people working, studying full-time, so somehow we managed it.
Yeah, yeah. And because I also understand that your real-time work experience into the ESG space is more or less a decade or
Yeah,
six to
yeah,
eight
yeah.
years.
I connected with social impact, sustainability, ESG, and governance. It's all together, I think 11 years to be precise.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
how's that working experience so far?
Well, it's been very journey, very enriching, but also tough, I must say, to be very blunt. I think, we learn through different experiences and we learn a lot about ourselves and our boundaries and also what works the best for us to balance our career development, working certain systems, but so yeah, like doing something with purpose that makes meaning and also makes us thrive. So my first proper job was at EcoVadis in
EcoVadis.
yeah. So for those who don't know, EcoVadis is a sustainability rating company. So this rating is used as a risk assessment tool for other companies to assess their supply chain performance from the environmental, social, and governance perspective for better decision making and risk mitigation. I met incredible people there that truly live their purpose, and so care about nature and also care about people around. And well, even though I never consider myself as a corporate person, definitely, overall spent 6 years working in a corporate. And I will, like learning, observing, and testing different, also like bias, certain considerations, way of looking at it, and how people can go into these big systems and make the world a better place. And what I found actually is quite surprising because a lot of progress gets slowed down by internal politics within companies and bureaucracy. And to find yourself there, you need to like to play such a game.
So it is a big difference, right? Because you mentioned that when you were in the academics, especially you were very much involved in this social impact, and you were also winner on the national level on the ESG, the projects which you did on the social impact. But whereas when you really get into the corporate world where you really wanted to create some impact, you understand the game is totally different there, right? Because there are so many different parameters, variables come into play. Like could be politics, could be budget, could be the vision, the roadmap, the direction of the organization, and also the mission vision of the company could be a little bit different. They are just doing it for the sake of compliance. So how was that experience?
I learned that there are mostly in sustainability field division of purpose-led companies and profit-led companies.
Yeah.
And I had experience working in both, and I know the difference. Like purpose-led companies, they are the ones that focus on not only in their business model, actually, is very different. They focus on, for example, purpose on the well-being of people, but also their initiatives. For example, I had at least one day per year of volunteering. Of course, it's not a lot, but employees' initiatives that were also supported on a broader level. There were a lot of, for example, initiatives related to, for example, philanthropy, specific budget allocated towards some natural calamities in the world that were also supported by the people who were from this region, and so on. For the profit-led company, on the other hand, it is like profit is the main wheel of progress. So they don't have, like, I mean, people just have a different awareness.
Yeah.
They usually don't have the environmental awareness, and they don't care so much about ESG and sustainability goals. They don't know what it is, and they treat it as a necessary burden, and you need to explain yourself. I mean, I have prepared so many different pitches of what I'm doing and why it is important, but like you need to really face people's mentality and help to, I mean, learn how to speak with their own language and what is important for them
Yeah.
in order to get things done. But it's really difficult. That's why I always say that working sustainability and ESG field, it is really tough job because it requires aligning with multiple different stakeholders on many different levels, from the operational to the executives. But also it requires incredible level of awareness, maturity, emotional intelligence, how to adjust communication towards the people, how to inspire, and how to be also charismatic in order to convince the higher management to your ideas and why it is important to decrease the GHG emissions or implement certain employee-led projects, and how to actually inspire people to drive change themselves and turn them into entrepreneurs. So develop a source of agency within, because in this field, I don't know if you have like this experience, but people are really passive working in a corporate.
No, true. I totally agree. I mean, yeah, it also depends on the individual,
Differences, yeah.
differences,
Yeah. Mhm.
perceptions, opinions, and also their ambitions as well.
Mhm.
But I also can recognize what you're trying to say, especially being in the passive mode
Yeah, I'm
most of
not
the time.
saying everyone is passive. Like I met also wonderful people really doing incredible things
Yeah,
and being very activist within the companies.
yeah,
But also there are a lot of people just caring about as their source of money, which is of course fair. It is fine as well. Like
yeah.
we have different priorities. You know, also capacity sometimes to be so much energetic, and we have different personalities, and we need to have these personalities to do to contribute nicely to organization society. But I think people should get more support in developing themselves in this field, because they are the ones that really want to make a world a better place, and they should get the right support for this.
No, definitely. And talking about creating these entrepreneurs, I understand entrepreneurs are the people within the organization, right?
Exactly.
And you mentioned that, there needs to be a certain charismatic way of, sharing or creating awareness. And you need to understand your audience, or you need to understand on which level, you need to speak their language. That's what you mentioned, right? Especially. And I think psychology plays a major role in all this process. So, what would be your suggestion for enterprises, or especially big organizations? How can they set up this kind of a framework which can help
Sure.
them to educate their employees or anyone?
Yeah, first of all, disclaimer, because a lot of us think that charisma is something that we are born with, that we have some predisposition for, but it is not true. And there's also a lot of research. I can also, after like a lot of different actually insights, literature and so on about the topics that we are talking about. But the charisma is actually something that is just combination of two skills that you can learn. One is a feeling of competence. So how good you're in your job, how well you can translate technical requirements, for example, in a G world regarding, for example, certain types of data that you need to obtain from one of the internal stakeholders within. And this is with a word, so that you need to be able to create a good relationship with people, that you feel like they feel that you care about them, that you're attentive, that you listen to them, and that you are empathizing with them, with their worth. You're able to um, feel that you're seeing their perspective, right? So
Yeah.
that's what you mentioned about emotional intelligence as well and the psychology. So,
Yes.
so I think everyone can learn the skills, and we live in this world of full times that there are a lot of people, and there's a lot of knowledge actually, and a lot of people being aware of what they need to improve, learn better how to give ourselves feedback, and we are more aware how to use certain sources like screening on LinkedIn or on Instagram, and then you see the reels with people helping to explain certain concepts and also certain skills, how to be better conversationalist or better express your needs, set boundaries, or communicate yourself more eloquently. And these micro learnings really shape our competence in charisma world.
Yeah. No, totally agree. But Gabriela, f- in my opinion, or at least my understanding, that there are always two types of learnings, right? So one, as a ESG specialist, you need to have a basic understanding of all the core concepts in
Yeah.
regards environment, social governance, and also all the EU reporting frameworks and modules we have. So that is an external knowledge base you need to equip with. But then when you try to apply that knowledge for a specific organization or for a specific company or a manufacturing unit or a production line or for a specific product, you also need to understand the ins and outs of a company, right? Because you mentioned you need to get into operations, you need to understand stakeholder management, you need to understand what is the main key takeaway for the management. So, in all the levels, right? So, from a lower level to the top level, you need to have a very bird's eye view.
Yeah.
And it takes time, right? And you also need to coordinate with different teams, different departments in an organization if it's a big organization. But
Yes.
how do you do that? And what would be
Well,
your suggestion in channelizing this?
exactly. So you said it takes time, but
Yeah,
you know the problem about the corporate, it's you
they
don't
don't
have
have time.
time.
They want the reports yesterday, and yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's why people are like there are people contacting me, and there are a lot of people I see posts on LinkedIn asking how can I get into sustainability in the ESG field. To be honest, there are a lot of I'm not sure whether you used to screen, for example, some screen once in a while or talk with the professionals. There's a lot of um, uh, job offers regarding they require you to have an MBA, and I think it makes a lot of sense because with MBA you know how business operates, so you skip certain learning process, learning curve in order to get a better hang of how company operates because it's very similar in multiple different businesses. So I think this is the first thing to do MBA. Of course, I'm not saying like everyone has to do MBA. I don't have one.
Still, you're
But
successful in the field, so yeah,
so I think it is the other part is like being able to build good relationships with people.
like networking
And
within the organization, right?
but you know, we think a lot about transactional, and this is what I don't like so much about corporate. You know, like transactional, it's like, oh, I reach out to you because I want something from you.
Yeah.
But behind this, there is a human with their own unique experiences. For example, what I faced, I was responsible for implementing CSRD in a big organization, and it was a decentralized organization, which means that I worked from the group level, but I had to cooperate with 5 different divisions. So as if I worked with 5 different companies, and each of them they had separate leads and separate HR, head of HR, and an operational person, and so on, and they had to coordinate, and we want to make sure that there is unified communication so everyone has the same chunk of information that it has they need to perform. They had different deadlines, they had maturity levels, and you had to make sense out of it all together. But what people like, what was the first change? It's like, okay, my idea behind it is, okay, let me create a framework for everyone so they have the same template, they have same explanation with the same guidance. Isn't it easy
Yeah,
to
it would
create
be.
like it sounds predictable, right? Like they
Yeah.
will have everything explained, they will have introduction meeting, and then I will do everything, like they already have the time. I have a meeting and ask them, oh, is this timeline right for you, and so on. But the problem was that nobody did it on time.
Oh,
And it turned out that people were just feeling overwhelmed.
yeah.
Even I just divided into the gap assessment, so they know which type of, for example, implementation of the CSRD. So CSRD, also for people who don't know, is the regulation regarding business responsibility within the EU. And there are all sets of like thousands of data
Data
beginning,
points.
even the initial proposal. And then to perform the double materiality assessment to assess whether a company, which part of data points from the impact and the financial materiality are like applicable for the company's operation. And then there's like, let's say, 100 data
Yeah.
points optimistically
Yeah.
left. And then you need to screen with people to see which business unit, for example, in HR, whether people have, when there is a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy, there is any specific action procedure for the health and safety. And then people there's this diffusion of responsibility. So it's very difficult. So to answer your question, how to make it work,
Yeah.
it is difficult, but I think it is important to understand the core issue
Hmm.
of, okay, what is the pain point of the people? Maybe there are a couple of them from each team, and try to have a conversation with them to honestly say it, because very often they felt overwhelmed. So how
Yeah.
can we deprioritize certain topics? How to, for example, extend the time? Let's decide for the minimum viable um,
Yeah.
deliverables, for example, or sometimes it's also, on the other hand, competing priorities with the top management.
Yes.
And then, like, the ESG is the
It's always on
topics are
the
less
lowest in the chain,
prioritized.
right? The ESG is
Yeah,
always in the lowest in the list.
exactly. Then it needs to be escalated to a head of ESG within company that has more contact and more visibility, but it's also a lot about, let's mention, about politics. It's a visibility game. You
Yeah.
need to showcase and prove yourself that what you propose, for example, in decreases the operational expenditure. Like it in the end, especially for the profit-led company, because this is the tech company I'm just talking about, it is very much about money.
Yeah.
How to divest into something
Yeah.
related to like, for example, like doing, like opening for certain markets. Of course, it's not the ESG topic so much, but there are a lot of interconnected areas in ESG that you can get access, as we work with multiple different divisions. And then to really be very people oriented, and also creative in making things work within the company. So ain't no easy, but it's also very fascinating to have these challenges and brainstorm and solve so many different challenges within companies. It's a really great journey.
No, definitely. But Gabriela, maybe before moving to the next question, because I think it's very interesting that you started saying that you need to understand your stakeholder. You need to speak their language. So even if it's a profit-driven organization, but you can
Mhm.
always be creative as an ESG specialist or a consultant that, okay, you already know that this company is profit driven. The language I need to speak with them has to be a value addition in terms of what we are doing, right? Because even with the ESG, there could be value which you can show. So I think that is where you also need to do a pivot in your pitch to the management to get their attention. Like you mentioned, it's all about visibility, it's all about connecting people, right? And it is also about showing them the value, because we are not just doing this for the sake of environment or for the sake of satisfying the EU Commission, but there is also a value behind it. But it's all the game of numbers. but you need to be really good at showing it, right?
Yeah, and the problem is that you have no training about it
No,
within the company. Like nobody teaches you how to handle stakeholders.
no.
It's a great idea. How can you do that? And the second thing is that it does, like, not everyone is so creative
Yeah,
or has great problem solving skills, which is also okay. I mean, like, we have certain
yeah,
predispositions for this. And I think we also need a lot of consultants that are very technical and know how to perform, for example, scenario assessments and so on.
yeah.
So I'm just, yeah, that's why I'm saying, and we need this multiple different types of consultants,
Consultants.
for example. But also it does require a lot of energy, and it is tiring. And I must say, it is. I might be excited about, like, it's such a beautiful journey, but it does cost, and we need to have support from within companies, which often lack. So it is huge systemic issue and gap, and people don't get. I mean, like, this well-being programs, they will not solve the problem about the companies, how they operate.
No,
It
definitely.
is something. I mean, there is even, like, research, and I can share with you the results after the meeting, that around 63% of sustainability professionals, they face burnout,
Hmm.
even though they work for
For
as
the
we
well-being of
claim, for,
entire organization.
for the, for something better, for the brighter future, for the future, for the generations to come. And then, like, why are they burnout? We need them and their stamina, their intellectuals, their energy for this. Without it, we will not have progress towards, the carbonization
Yeah,
and human rights, just society.
yeah.
So we need to, and it's like it's very in opposition. And as I mentioned, it is sustainability career, but it's not sustainable for us people
No,
working in
no,
it.
no. I totally agree. And I'm not sure how do you see it, but in my opinion, people who are working in this space are also more sensible or more sensitive
Yes.
because they care a lot about environment, about human rights, about governances. They are the ones to raise their voice if something goes within the organization, about equality rights, about gender ratio issues and stuff like that. They're also very, sensitive as well. And putting too much stress and pressure and tiring themselves to prove a point within organization is also exhausting, right? And
Mhm.
it eventually leads to burnout. Maybe let's talk about the mental health, Gabriela. So
Sure.
what would be your suggestion to how can we safeguard our mental health?
Well, I really believe that everyone needs to find their own way, um, because everyone is expert from themselves, and we
Yeah.
really need to trust better ourselves and dedicate more time to understand ourselves. Yeah, through therapy, for example. Personally, I've been doing self-therapy for 7 years now.
Oh, what is
I
psychotherapy?
I mean, psychotherapy, like
Okay.
therapy, like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I it is just, I cannot mm, highlight enough how beneficial it is, how it transformed my life, and for most of all, how it helped me to understand myself better. And I think it's a really great tool to learn about yourself, what serves you, how to advocate for yourself and set the boundaries, especially in the complex society we live in, when there are so many different sources pulling out so many different directions, which career to choose, whether this system works for me or not. How can I know about it? What are the indicators? How does it feel for me? Like, we very often also forget about our bodies. Like, for example, when I worked and studied full time, it of it. So in some way, I could do it better because I could be present in two places at once. I don't
Yeah.
recommend, though, like doing it, because it is a good way to get burned out. But yeah, but I was there, like, with my intellect, and we are in our head all the time. But we need to reconnect with our bodies. And because our bodies, they collect the emotions, that the emotions are trapped within our bodies if we don't do sport or intentionally work with ourselves, even through dance or certain techniques, then will not, like, these emotions will be written in our body. Think about yourself. Imagine yourself being in the dark room at home just on your own, and that you think is there and has a, I don't know, knife, and is threatening you. And think about it seriously, and think how your body will react. The blood will stop, the heart will stop pumping blood very intensely. You will have like a lot of sweat and fight or flight response.
Yeah.
And so this is the real case.
Yeah.
And the second of all, that evolutionarily, because we are so much in our mind, even though physically there is no threat, our mind is stressed out. There are two types of stress: eustress, distress. We need both in order to protect ourselves and survive. But eustress is a stress that motivates us. For example, right now we might feel eustress in order to, perform well during the podcast, and also it helps us to, for example, focus on what we are talking about. Makes sense also to prepare and present ourselves well. But the distress is a type of stress that actually also shows as something threatening, but that is overwhelming to our system. So it makes us have very vision in the way of thinking, right? So that we just focus on just some threat and difficulty, and it makes us very uncomfortable in short and simple terms. And in similar also is with burnout, because with burnout, when we have much of distress, which means that it is beyond our ability to adapt to it and overcome it, to deal with it, then it gets elongated in time, and then we'll need more intervention sometimes, or more space in order to get back to our homeostasis and balance of nervous system. I think nervous system is something that I have been exploring for a long time. How to calm down nervous system, how to be very intentional about it, how to learn when I feel dysregulated. And it is a great in so many different areas of life, because when nervous system is regulated, it does support us and make to pursue what is important for us, and how to have more resources to be better for this world, to function beyond just pay its job, but also contribute to the society. For example, be more present with our parents, our friends, and overall having a lot of exciting opportunities in life.
Yeah. And how or when do you know what is your limit as a human?
That's a tricky question. I think it comes with practice and observation years.
Hmm.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like I'm in general, I think very energetic person. I have a lot of ideas regarding things, and it is a bit tricky because then when I'm already so much in speed, then I forget about my need to take rest, and I need to think about it not logically, because then I collapse. I mean, collapse means not literally like fall down on the
Yeah.
floor, but to collapse means like I feel mental fog.
Hmm.
That I cannot. That, for example, sometimes I lack words that I want to speak and express. That, yeah, like when someone talks to me, process it, and it's just difficult and it's very upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a signal that is, yeah, like the activity went too much far away and I need to take a rest. And I think, of course, not everyone has this maybe luxury to take rest whenever they
Yeah.
feel overwhelmed, right? Because, there are people having children or having multiple different other, situations, even at work, having very, demanding period right now of reporting. It's an incredible challenge for people to go through. And we cannot avoid having overwhelm of our system, but yeah, we can just use some practices like talking with friends or with therapists. Taking walk, nature is incredibly powerful environment for us to reconnect with ourselves. Yeah. Do
And
you have any ways for yourself that work for you?
oh no, definitely. But talking about connect with the environment. So for that, we
Mhm.
need to preserve the environment, right? We need to
Exactly,
preserve the
right?
nature. Or else it gets tricky. So I myself, like you mentioned, I try to listen more often to the signals which are coming from the body, from both from the mind and also from the nervous systems as well, because sometimes it also gives me some sort of signals that okay, so you're going beyond your capacity, you got to slow down. So what I do is I listen to music that calms my nervous system, and I also do sports. I go to gym, lift some heavy weights, or go for a run. That helps me. Yeah, so I think sometimes I also get confused between distress and L stress, what you mentioned. Gets
Mhm.
confused, like, which stress am I triggered with? Because sometimes it's like too much overwhelming. So yeah, I've been trying to understand about me from quite some time. I've been making notes about my mood fluctuations, like okay, how do I react in certain situations? So then I already know a pattern about me, and based on that I try to improve. So it's all about looking the pattern in your own behavior, could be mental behavior, physical behavior. So and then make certain changes. Sometimes if there is a lack of sleep or lack of nutrition in the body, it also gives me signals that okay, your body is getting exhausted because you didn't provide enough nutrition to the body on that day. So it gives me quick feedback, but I have
Exactly.
to listen to that. So that is the problem. Sometimes I ignore, so I have to be
Yeah,
more
that's
careful.
true. One more thing that came to my mind,
Yeah.
very important, like very crucial
Mm.
for just mental health. We need people. We can just do a lot of meditation and yoga and gym and sports and nutrition and everything, but if we forget about people that we have, the safe relationships
Yeah.
with around us,
Yeah.
and like to hug each other, like I don't remember how many hugs a day. I think around 8 hugs a day. The research that
Yeah.
it is researchly it is scientifically proven that
Yeah.
as a human beings we need hug, need touch and embrace of each other, or even to have a good level of functioning that will attune each other with each other, and sometimes presence of another person that is feels safe for us can really rewire our functioning and can really improve our nervous system functioning. And like I know that we are just so busy, feel under pressure. I myself I forget very much about it, and I feel like I need to improve my relationship with people. I think there's always, also scope for improvement. That,
Yeah.
but we really need to be more present for each other.
No, definitely. I think it's good that you bring this, because I give very less credits to my wife, but I think I need to appreciate all the hugs she's giving me, which also helps my nervous system. Thank you for that.
Amazing.
So talking about well-being, and also I know that you've been also working in AI framework. Maybe can
Mhm.
you share a bit on that? What you're working right now, and
Mhm. Yeah, so some of you know probably that there is this EU AI Act,
yeah,
which is very like sounds like a tongue twist AI Act of the European Union that regulates the functioning and categorization of different AI systems that are used by companies and different operator levels. So that there is better that like lowering of certain abuse and bias from the AI based tools that now most of us use. So I'm touching base with the governance layer of it. So I'm working with companies, guiding them to do the risk assessment and the documentation for the AI, but also I'm I'm in the process of exploring how to optimize, for example, my work or other people's work with AI tools, which I can say quite confidently nowadays that it also saves some part of my mental.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Like, the
definitely.
fact that it optimizes of like activities that are very operational and like preparation of certain deliverables for clients and initiatives. Yeah, but I know that there is a risk of overusing it,
Yeah.
but it's very important. I'm really so grateful to be able to work in this field, in this very, very dynamic developing area that we're facing. It's very fascinating. And I'm really looking forward to how to support, more companies with it, how to screen their risk level, and how to create also healthy AI governance.
Yeah.
Because, like a lot of people, they are like really concerned about AI taking over their job. And I think, like it kind of makes sense, right? Because we have a lot of situation that it happened not for good reason so in many cases, but like people need to be AI literate.
Yeah.
It's like part of the governance also, and good practices from the regulation that there is a responsibility and requirement for literacy. So companies need to have this supporting policies for different functions to better adapt into the AI tools use, how to do it smartly, how to use your critical skill. They're kind of politically not so much involved. Yeah. So it is right now how it is.
And
And
Gabriela, maybe a follow-up question on that. So
Mhm.
currently you're a freelance consultant who is working on both ESG slash AI governance for
Mhm.
companies, right?
Yeah. I'm freelance consultant, but I'm also like developing my core activities as a company in the future.
Okay. And you provide services only within Spain or all around
No,
Europe?
globally. Globally, I could also, for example, have a partner in India, organization I work with, also in the UK. So my and also having the social impact activity pillar of my, like in general what I do in life. So I also worked with support change makers in African
Yeah.
countries. So it's like very, very global
Yeah. Yeah.
exposure. And it's great, and because you always learn from people.
Yeah. And if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
They can connect with me through LinkedIn, Gabriela Uberna. I will
Hmm.
share also my
Yeah.
contact details.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm really looking forward also talking with organizations or individuals. Maybe there's some projects we can do together, or if there's anyone who is trying to find their way in a sustainability ESG career, then I'm also happy to provide some guidance.
No, definitely. But if you have to put it in 3 to 4 steps from the
Mhm.
kickoff up until the project completion, like how would be your approach? Once you take over the project, you start with the kickoff and screening and then gathering data. And is that how it goes? Or you have a set of a framework, your own built framework or something?
Yeah, it depends on a company or an
Company.
organization.
Yeah.
For example, I think mostly it's the understanding what are the needs, how it combines with the context when the company operates, what kind of regulations they need to fulfill. Yeah, and then like the gap assessment, designing the best way forward for them, and the solutions, how to, for example, strategy, or how to prepare for for example, EcoVadis assessment,
Yeah.
and so on. So it's a lot of different topics that I'm juggling, but I try to have a quite standardized approach regarding just describe. But I'm also very much focused on what are the main priorities for companies,
Priorities. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they get what they really need and it will benefit their business and their teams.
No. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it all starts with listening, right? to
Yeah,
first
exactly.
understand what they need, just open your mind and listen to them, maybe ask right questions, and then gather info and then plan from there. And what would be your advice to the people who wants to get into this ESG space and the key core competencies they need to focus on? What would you suggest?
I think first I would say networking is
Mm.
incredibly unappreciated, um, you know, and competence because it is really difficult to find a job nowadays. I heard a lot of people just feeling ignored by the recruiters after they send 100 CVs, and it is exhausting. And I don't think that it's super required to spend so much of time and energy on something that gives you very minimum results. It's better instead to identify profile of companies that you would like to work for, see how you can, for example, magnify your skills on LinkedIn in the development of your LinkedIn. It does not have to be financial investment in pre, but to really go through your profile, see whether you have keywords, explanation of your roles and so on, and connect with people that are really in your area of interest, and it's like, representatives, or working with HR, or that you're interested in, that reach out to them directly. I know sometimes it is difficult to do it, like to contact a random person, but it is very important to be able to do that, because then it will might bring you incredible results. I tested and I really recommend it. A lot of incredible networks for sustainability and ESG professionals. I will also show you the links. There's, for
Yes.
example, a directory with hashtag open door climate, and there's a directory of more than 1,000 professionals from
Oh,
different parts of sustainability and ESG work, that they were like a journalist, corporate, startup, social impact, a lot of different professionals with whom you can talk, and people are usually very helpful. So even if they don't have, for example, vacancy in their company, they can recommend you to someone else. So it's really incredibly powerful tool.
yeah. And Gabriela, have you ever faced rejections? If yes, how many and how do you bounce back? Or how do you cope up with these rejections? It's a bit difficult, eh? Just to hear people saying no and
Yeah,
going through these rejections back and back.
yeah, a lot. Yeah. For example, regarding, of course, I didn't get so much replies to my applications, but for example, once before I accepted the job offer to here in Barcelona, like some time ago, I had this, I almost all the interviews to another company, also based in Barcelona, and I really wanted to work there. But they said that no, we chose someone else who is also from Spain, and I understand it. It's like, hiring, the citizen,
Yeah.
kind of more fair. And I also use this rejection as a like opportunity. So I scheduled call with recruiting manager, had to discuss what was something that was missing, what is the area for improvement, how eloquently I talked with the person, how I present myself, whether maybe she could also recommend additional course, or anything to upskill myself. And it just I always I always take it as a learning opportunity. Sometimes it's difficult, but I also believe in things and for better.
Hmm.
I mean, not always, but yeah, I mean, just about it. But also, um, like building sense of agency, like what is important for me, and if I don't get opportunity from there, like okay, there were so many times I was so frustrated, like really frustrated, and then after some time, I was like, okay, let me do it by myself. And it brought me way more satisfaction in
Yeah.
doing it, and then it also inspires others that they can do things, they can have sense of agency and build, let's say, failure or rejection into something that is empowering them. And it is very important for us to feel empowered, to do things that make us feel that we own our life, we own our time, we own the direction that we go towards, and that not let others classify us in certain ways. We need to believe that we pave the way, and then it will also inspire others. And sometimes it will be very difficult, but we need to,
Yeah.
sometimes to lay down and take rest, and then get up and have your networkers support and do our things.
Yeah. No, I think it's important to also take some time off if you're in that zone, because
Exactly.
you can't think clearly, right? Because you are in a very negative phase, negative zone. And Gabriela, do you have any mentors or advisors in your life who helped you? Were there any?
Yeah. So, for example, yeah, psychotherapies, as I mentioned.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for different periods of life, I also had different psychotherapies, and I also have trained to have this meta level thinking,
Mm.
whether a person with whom I work, it really does benefit my needs currently.
Yeah.
Um, and then, like having also my mom, she went through a lot of ups and downs in life, and she's herself an entrepreneur.
Wow.
And I think it helps a little bit to do things, because it's like I was tired. It has its benefits and drawbacks, I'd say, but it does support way of thinking and feeling like, oh, I can be powerful and feel good about my life and shape it in the right way. But also I feel very, because I feel like I'm privileged because of it and fortunate. I want to also extend this privilege to other people,
Yeah.
so that like we don't choose where we are born, right, and what kind of socio-economical system we have and so on in the beginning, but we can choose, once we are fortunate, that we can give it back to others who need it uh, in their lives, and be mentors for others. Yeah, so this is, and I will also share for the people to have more support. There is actually a website, which is an application, which is called Up Notch, which
Hmm.
has a network of and community of um, non-profit mentors, so everyone can use it as
Oh,
well.
definitely.
Everyone
Yeah.
can get support.
Yeah. Maybe if you can share it, I will also post it so that it can be useful for others. And thank you for sharing that. I think your mom must be really proud that, all the things you're doing. And last week we celebrated International Women's Day. I would like to again congratulate you and also your mother on this Women's Month. I mean, it's every day, right? It's every day. It's a Women's Day, but thank you so much. And Gabriela, like, you also had any difficulties in navigating your life in a new place, new country, because you come from Poland and now you're living in Spain, Barcelona. You mentioned that you had a rejection because of maybe, because you're from a different place. Maybe they wanted to, give a priority to someone from the local region. So, what would your suggestion be for people who are moving to different places for job opportunities or for educational purposes for any number of reasons?
Can be tough.
Yeah, it
And
can be.
here I can also, because I was so excited. But and I, like, I did everything so efficiently. I moved myself like within 2 weeks and stuff. But then my third day in Spain, I did not have a accommodation yet. My third day in Spain, I got sinusitis for 1 month, and I had to take
Sinusitis.
sinusitis.
Oh,
Yeah,
the severe headache you
yeah,
get.
yeah. My third day
Boy, that's
of
not
my
good.
new life,
No.
and I ended up on two different types of antibiotics
Oh, shit. Okay.
for 1 month. And since then, every 3 months, I used to get sick. So it was, even though I did not feel overwhelmed mentally, apart maybe from how many things are happening within the city and the FOMO, but also like my body was not kind of supporting me.
Yeah.
Like this, the phaesical stress, the biological stress. This is another type of stress that we have, not
Yeah.
only, yeah, psychological, right? So what happens is to get along with people who are great, say, regulators for in our lives, and And in Barcelona there are a lot of networks. I mean, I think we live in the times there are a lot of, different applications
And
for
communities as well, right?
and friends. I'm not saying like you need to do it all the time because it's tiring. And but yeah, it does help, like for example, there is community on Facebook, Girls Gone Abroad, GGI. So it's for women, maybe for men there's also something. So there is this community in Facebook groups in many big cities around the world for women who are migrants, and they can share their experiences and yeah, like out and build their community. Of course, it is also tough, and it does sometimes it does require a lot of also courage to meet people you don't know and also expose yourself to being rejected, right?
Yeah.
Like coming back to this topic as well. Yeah, but like no risk, no fun. We need to take risk. I mean, people who already took risk of moving to other country, they are capable of making new friends as well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that we can do things. I used to be so shy. I used to be so insecure, but because I started traveling solo when I was 22, I treat it as my spiritual practice, like how to, whenever you go into the world, you need to handle yourself and your life and survive. And I think it's incredible, really powerful tool also to learn about yours, why you do solo traveling. And it's very empowering, as I mentioned.
Yeah. Have you also been to India by any chance?
I did. I
You
have
did?
been, yeah,
You
for
like
3 weeks. Yeah,
India?
I loved so much. I've been to Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and Kerala.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So very beautiful, diverse country. Each state is like a different country.
Every state is a different
So
country. True.
diverse and yeah, it's incredible.
Wow, wow. And
Actually,
talking about traveling and different countries, so what is your take on the current geopolitical situation? We have different kinds of wars which are happening out there. We had trade wars back in days, and now we have real wars, amongst countries.
yeah.
And I was always in the feeling of Dubai being the safest, city in the world, UAE. But after the recent events, there is no safe space in this world, and anything can happen anytime to any place. So, how are you navigating in the current times? How is your thought process?
Side or not. I think I lost you,
Oh, yes.
or you lost
Sorry.
me.
Can you hear me now again? Am I back?
I hear you really well.
Okay. Was my
You
question
just,
clear or?
yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was a intense topic.
I know.
Well, it is difficult, but also I think it is not something new
No.
that we are dealing with. Currently, lately, like in 1990, there is a new coined name, the definition, or like actually yeah, like the word for this, what is happening in the world, like it is called polycrisis. In 1993, there was a French philosopher, Edgar Morin, who coined this term.
Hmm.
So we can say about, humanitarian crisis, for example, in Sudan, the wars in the Middle East, for example, right, or like in African countries as well, like the exploitation of people, the forced labor, and yeah, I mean, we have a
Yeah.
lot of different, challenges regarding, nature crisis, and yeah, it is overwhelming, but also I think about the fact that we are so aware of it about it. We are, because earlier, before, we didn't have media or social, like any type of media, right? And then again, like we are getting back into our capacity to process everything, and like being empathetic, sensitive person, you need to really think whether you should bother or not. And what can you do,
No.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
not in your location.
Yeah.
So that's why I also so much believe in networks of people. Like you cannot do everything yourself, but you
No.
can support each other, like other people doing projects. For example, I work with person. Luke is based in Uganda. He's a refugee from Congo.
Mhm.
And he does his social project supporting other refugees in the refugee camp he lives through teaching them English and teaching them sewing so that they have handy skills. And this is something like small impact that you can have in the world, like, trying to hype person up, sometimes try to connect with other people that do social funding of projects or upskilling. There are a lot of different impactful organizations, but the problem is that we may not know about
Yeah.
certain opportunity.
Yeah.
So for example, like regarding migration crisis, this is part also of the like post-colonialism, out of the colonialism in certain countries, and also the climate change that like certain areas, for example, have like excessive heat in the middle, let's say near equator, for example, and then there are a lot of people just will to the north to the more livable countries, right? And we need to accommodate them. And then there is prediction, the forecast that I think by 2050 there will be 85% of people around the world from the global southern countries, the ones that they produce less, they exploit the planet less, and probably migrate many of them who
Mhm.
have resources to the
Yeah.
northern
Yeah.
countries. I mean, accommodate
Yeah.
them, and they will exploit more maybe
Yeah.
because I mean, like it's still less than us.
Yeah.
And it is, like we need to give opportunities for them work-wise and accommodate them for yeah, jobs, living, and so on. And for example, in Spain, there's a new regulation or plan that actually the government is going to legalize, but the legalized stay of a lot of like 500,000 migrants from
Mhm.
Latin America, mostly.
Mhm.
That is illegal currently.
Yeah.
And then there's a huge opportunity, and also challenge how to provide proper infrastructure for these people and also to accommodate cultural. I think it will be a problem,
Yeah.
but how to give them proper jobs, proper living. So this is also a huge opportunity for NGOs and other, people to work on, yeah, like towards supporting these people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's amazing because you're totally right, because there are certain things in the world which are happening where we do not have any control. We can't do anything. We can't. But in the other hand, there is something you can always do. Like the story which you mentioned about a person who is teaching this in Uganda, where he's making an impact of creating awareness and educating people. Thank you for sharing that. I have quite a lot of other questions as well, but looking at the time, we're already 7 minutes past. So maybe one final question, Gabriela. Are there like any final reflections or thoughts or anything which you'd like to share?
Wow. So just to finish the topic that we just talked about, like I think knowledge about geopolitics,
Mm-hmm.
the development of the field and the regulatory landscape, but also regarding helping, for example, people from around the world. I think we need to think about whether we do it as I will say, talk to for myself, like for example the white savior, that we want to be the white saviors doing something good
Yeah.
for them. We will feel good about ourselves, or with intention that I don't want to colonize the perspective of other person with my only right thinking. And it is difficult sometimes because, for example, a lot of people in countries, they might by default thinking like you give me direction. I'm not saying everyone does that, but unfortunately there's a lot of mentality, and I faced with it so much. That's why I'm saying it. I'm not saying this everyone, but it does is somehow prevalent in certain, yeah, in certain communities of people, groups of people, but we need to think how to communicate and give them support with their initiatives and encourage them to make decisions for themselves. And they are just the actors in their own context. And it's important to follow and give, support with, for example, access to certain resources that we have, right, through our network. So I think it is important. Yeah, I think this, human connection and also active hope. So where we feel hopeless about something, we can always do something, whether it's in our community or beyond, or just for ourselves to feel better, safer with ourselves, and regulate our nervous system and feel good. I think it's important to do something for others and see the other person around and in the world around. Yeah, to be more sensitive, because I think we are still not so much, and I think we can still learn so much from the developing cultures and Asian or for example African. Like for example in India, I really love, for example, that it takes a village. They're saying it takes a village to grow a kid, and I think it's very nicely said that, like, we just need to support each other, and not to be left on our own with our kids and two parents. It's not sustainable for
No.
anyone's mental health, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot. We should really learn a lot from different cultures. In Europe, I'm saying, like, European centric perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, definitely. And what do you want to have the one main key takeaway from this entire discussion? Like, if I have to say one main key takeaway, what would that be? What is that impression you want to leave after this discussion?
I think to prioritize your own mental health
Mental
first,
health.
learn how to be more self-aware,
Yeah.
and the other topics will follow, because once you know it, mm, for you, sometimes, like when you choose a career, it might not be the first which will be the best, like the first job will be the best, but when you let yourself experiment, but within your own boundaries and listening to yourself, it will be, yeah, I think it will be good, start for starters.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. So, and also, if I have to reflect back on the entire discussion we did, I think it was revolving around the S in ESG, about social impact, about reaching out to people, about networking, about having the human emotion in the loop, even with the AI, always reach out to the people, talk to them, have be more sensitive towards listening, try to understand them, get into communities, get into networking groups, try to create more awareness. So it's all about people, topics revolving around people. So that's
You're
for
very
me the
right. Just the last thing that I the social part is so important. It's beyond the technical skills. Now we will outsource the technicalities, knowledge, preparation of the documents, and analysis to the AI tools. What we need to do to be competitive in our market is to be self-aware, be able to talk people and connect with them, talk eloquently, straight to the point about your ideas and concepts and so on. And also having, like good contact with your body, like use it in the way that it supports us. This is something that it's the best type of investment nowadays.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow. That was amazing, Gabriela. Thank you so much. I think
Thank you
a
so much.
lot of insights were packed in this entire 1 hour conversation. I mean, a lot of experience which is coming from you has been also packed, your personal journey, your experiences, and your insights. I personally, it was a very impactful discussion for sure. Thank you so much. Sorry that we went a bit over the time, but I think it was needed because I didn't want to interrupt you because
Gotcha.
you were sharing so much of interesting and important information. And thank you so much for doing this because the moment we reached out to you, you said yes for it. So there are very few people who are doing this, and you are one of them. Thank you for sharing, and please keep doing what you're doing, and all the best, and wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much, Vinod. It was great pleasure to have such a great questions and, like the way of the conversation was very free flowing, inspiring. So you too keep doing what you're doing, and I really wish you a lot of great, inspiring conversations to
Thank,
come.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a nice
Okay,
evening and have a
you
good day.
too. You too. Bye.
Bye.